John, I want to welcome you to the show. With you is your friend Andrea Konzem, who's running for the Shenandoah City Council. And John, as I understand it, you're going to interview Andrea, and we're just going to all sit back and enjoy the interview.
Well, I was delighted. Thank you for asking me. I appreciate you accepting my request to do this, actually. I requested to do this, but I want to be clear about something. I didn't know Andrea Konzem until after she had filed to run. But when I found out that we had a candidate running in Shenandoah for City Council whose story is very similar to mine, just really got tired of what was going on and seeing the things happening in her local area. She got up and decided to do something about it. I was very excited to talk to her, and she'll tell you this is all very new to her. She's not used to speaking in front of big crowds and all those things, and she's trying to feel her way through this. And the Republican Party here in Montgomery County has a candidates committee chaired by Dale Inman to help candidates. And I'm very proud to say that Ms. Konzem is going to be the first one that we're sort of helping through this process to feel our way through this. So this is a new thing for us, and we're very excited at the things that are changing here in Montgomery County. So without further ado, I would like to introduce y'all to my new friend, Andrea Konzem. She is a 33-year resident of Shenandoah. She's a mother, a grandmother. Her husband and her live there in Shenandoah, and she loves Shenandoah. And I've talked to her. She's very passionate about it. She's a very positive, very intelligent person who really wants to have some control in government. But I'm going to let her talk to you about it. So, Ms. Konzem, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent.
Glad to be here.
Well, prior to this election, have you ever run for office before or done anything like this?
Nothing.
So what possessed you to get up and put your name in the hat and deal with this kind of stuff?
It's something that I've always wanted to do. It's always been in the back of my mind. And I decided that this was the right time now.
Okay, well, Shenandoah is a pretty exciting place, and it's growing, and it's been growing all around it. You heard about the 100-page budget earlier and a lot of the things going on in that area. You have a legal background. You're a legal assistant, correct?
I am.
Well, we need some legal help and definitely some legal oversight in some of our city councils for sure. But that should help you a lot in that job, understanding how to read through all this gobbledygook that these lawyers put together in a 800-page.
Lawyers are in trouble.
Yeah, call it a brief. So, what do you think right now, in the midst of all this change, the biggest challenges for Shenandoah?
There's a few things. I guess we're being blamed for traffic that's really not for us. I mean, it's not our traffic, but it's.
Well, you're in the middle of the woodlands in this growing
Right.
area, so there's mobility issues going on all around you. So you feel like that Shenandoah is getting a disproportionate amount of blame for the mobility issues?
I do.
Interesting. I have not heard that, but you're in the city council meetings and I'm not. So let me ask you this question. Do you think the current city council is serving the best interests of the people there in Shenandoah?
No, I don't.
Tell me
that
why
way.
you feel that way.
Well, we were promised town hall meetings. We don't get that. We have these little sign things almost at every entrance where they post for the lighting of the angels, the Easter egg hunt, just all different kinds of things. Why can't they post there for town hall meetings or anything? Because that's where people drive by and see that stuff.
Yeah, well, you've been there 33 years, and I imagine you know a lot of the neighbors in the area.
Mm-hmm.
What do they say about it? What are the things that they like that's going on? What are the things they're concerned about? What do you hear?
Well, they do realize that things aren't being maintained like they were and like they previously were, but there is some concern about things that are going on. So, like the parks not being maintained, and
well, if you were elected to the
You know,
city,
let me
yes,
I want to just follow up on what you just said. So, the parks and like the marquees and like some of the flower areas, are those actually city property?
I think they are. Yes, I think they are.
Because I definitely, I've lived in the Woodlands now for 20 6 years or 27 years. And I definitely have noticed that, especially it seems like in the last 3 or 4 years, that Shenandoah's marquees and, you know, like what used to be really gorgeous flower
Right.
areas are really run down.
Yes, they are. They are.
Well, let me ask you this. I heard something about another apartment complex being built over there. Is that correct?
2 of them, actually.
2 of them. How do you feel about apartment complexes being built in that area? What do you think that does to an area?
I think, in my opinion, I feel like it kind of runs it down a little bit.
Well, that's always been a concern with, especially when the Woodlands was talking about this, because one of the big concerns was that these multi-unit housings would come in, and then of course they outvote the town,
Right.
the homeowners there,
Right.
and then that could be a huge concern in a little place like Shenandoah, where, as the mayor said, there's 4,000 people live there. When you pack almost that many into 3 apartment complexes, it makes it really tough on the citizens there. And they're citizens too, of course, but
Right.
it's more transient because they're in and out of apartments, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, what? I understand we have is there a video or something, Bill, that you had of a little piece of the city
It'd be
council?
hard to do because we only have 3 right now, and they work different shifts.
Yeah, it's
So if
hard
they
to-
get
it's
Got
a,
one on first shift.
right, but if they're at that one's working a wreck or gets
Hard to
tied
find a
up
seat
on
at that
some
one.
Yeah, it's hard to hear
call or
anything.
something like that, then somebody else, they always.
You can shut
it's
it
not
off. You
just-
can't really hear anything. But I think that video was talking about these apartment complexes. And you correct me if I'm wrong. Not reporting properly and paying taxes on revenue. Is that correct? Are they decrying that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't.
There was something about that. Them not reporting. And I think the statement that was attributed to Mr. Fletcher was, when you don't report it and you don't pay it,
Oh.
then you basically have taken money from the city. Is that
Right.
okay? So that was said.
And I'm sorry, so what was not being reported?
The revenue, the hotel, I think it was the revenue, hotel revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Ted Fletcher was complaining about someone else not paying taxes?
So you see the irony.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask her about that. So given Mr. Fletcher's comments on his 25 years plus of issues with the IRS and debts, you want to make a comment on that at all?
No, I don't. That's for the citizens to decide.
Well, I appreciate you taking the high road on that, but I do think it's a concern. I do think the citizens do need to understand who this is and the hypocrisy of commenting on such a thing in that way. So, also, you mentioned something about that video, which I thought was very perceptive, and Eric, you mentioned it too. Did you see the ones of people there?
The ones.
The ones of people. Why, in a city that's growing so much, that has a 100-page budget, that has, as the previous mayor said, 400,000 people filtering through it every single day, why can't they get more than 3 people at a city council meeting? Do you have an idea about that?
I really don't think they want the citizens there. That's just my opinion, that I don't think they want the citizens there.
Why would you say that?
Less controversy for them.
So you think there's just a handful of people sort of pushing this through? Do I make you nervous at all?
You're just nervous from being on this show. aren't
Yeah,
you?
sure you
I am.
are.
Yeah.
Sure
I
you
am.
are. Because I've talked to you several times, and you're all very forthcoming, and you have a lot of great ideas, and you go on and on. But this race, I understand how unnerving it is to run in a race like this, and you put yourself out there, and I have a lot of respect for you talking about, you think city council members should serve for free. I think that's right, and I appreciate you speaking up about that. I certainly do appreciate you stepping up to put your name in the ring for this, because the people we're dealing with here, I think Eric will tell you, it's not very nice, and they will come after you, and they make it very personal. But I think you did the right thing in sticking to the issues when I asked you that question.
Let me tell you something, Andrea. There was a really good friend of mine. My family and I used to attend Woodlands United Methodist Church, and we got to know I guess I would have considered him a young man. I think maybe he was the same age as I was. But he was actually chairman of the building committee, really active in the church. and he decided he wanted to run for office. He had never run before. And so he did a couple of video interviews, and I got to tell you, I mean, just your short answers so far today, you've already said about 10 times more than he would say in video interviews. He was scared to death of being on camera, of having to, answer questions that he didn't always know exactly where people were going with them. And so the reality is his first, I would say, half a dozen video interviews were just terrible. And so, people were saying, well, gosh, why is this guy running for office? He doesn't have the, good looks of Cary Grant, or, he's not as articulate as John F. Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality, though, is that as you get access to more information, for example, because my impression is the city of Shenandoah is really trying to stonewall and hide information, especially from you, by the way.
Yes.
That, as he went through that process, he became a lot more comfortable in interviews because he just, knew more and he was more used to it. He actually won his election. He was elected state representative. Throughout that whole time, I was actually his personal attorney, which was actually a lot of fun. Unfortunately, he didn't become quite as fun as he moved up into higher office. He then became a state senator, and I think there's a lot of people who are not real excited about Tommy Williams at this point. But the reality is that, Tommy started out as a normal person, just like you are, who just wanted to serve the public. And that's something that's very admirable, and you ought to be very proud of the fact that you're doing this, as uncomfortable as it may make you feel. Okay?
Yeah. Well, we have enough politicians right now. It's nice when the citizens step up. That's what we've been talking about for a long time. And if you can bring something at city council to put some people in those seats in the city council meetings, you get them interesting, whether it's the transparency that you and I have talked about at length, whether it's the prioritization of where this money goes, whether it's just responsible government and making people feel like they actually have a voice to where they will show up to this little star chamber and actually get to voice their opinion. That'd be nice for them to have someone like you to give them a voice, because right now, just looking at all the empty seats, it's not there right now.
So, and I know I'm not supposed to do this, and I'm probably messing your interview up, but I just want to ask you something, okay? So, forget about politics and running for office and all of that. What do you like to do? What's your favorite thing to do?
Excuse me.
In a typical week?
I love muscle cars.
You like what?
Muscle cars.
Muscle cars.
I don't even know what that is.
GTO, man. We have a GTO, Firebird.
The cars that
I don't even know what you're talking
50s
about.
and 60s.
Okay.
70s also. Come on.
So, yeah, some of them, yeah. But most of the ones that I like are from the 50s and 60s.
What do you mean you like them? What, do you work on them?
No. I don't work on them. I just like to go to car shows.
Really?
And I like to just go out and drive around and.
It's an interesting crowd too at the car shows too. You've never been to a car show, Eric?
I have never been to a car show, although I will say this, that I have been to Tony Gullo's car museum. Have you ever been out there to that?
I have not.
That is real. If you can ever get in there, it's
Some of
really
their
cool.
cars were actually at the last car show that I went to.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's got some amazing stuff, and I think once a year he opens his museum up to the public.
Oh.
And so my wife and I have actually been twice, and part of the fun of going to Tony Gullo's museum is just seeing the museum building itself.
Oh.
I mean, it's it's basically in his backyard, but it's gigantic.
Oh.
And he's got a soda fountain. What is it? The little stores where soda fountains. I guess they were called soda fountains, weren't they?
Well, drugstores have the soda fountains in them.
Okay.
All little drugstores with the counters and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, you're like 70 years old. So you
Yes,
should
I'm an
know.
old soul, man. I'm an
Old soul, right?
That's right.
So when you go to these shows, who do you go with?
My husband. My
Okay.
husband and I. That's
So that's kind of how y'all hang out.
yeah. And he recently got his retirement toy, and we just kind of get in the car and
Really?
drive for the weekend or drive.
So what's the
home.
retirement toy?
I don't like that car.
What is it?
A Corvette.
Oh, Corvette. Cool.
Those are great cars, though. I mean, honestly, you talk about the classic American car. It's a Corvette.
I had a Corvette.
Really? Yeah, I can see you in a Corvette.
81 Vet. Actually, it's my parents, but I get to drive it. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, he loves that car.
But anyway, well, I do want to state for the record, though, that Ms. Konzem, are you a member of the Tea Party? Have you ever been to any Tea Party meetings?
I went to one meeting, I think, where they interviewed me, but I'm not a.
So you haven't, okay. So, because you know that's what's coming, Eric. It's going to be John Boucher went out and recruited this person, and she's a Tea Party person. And again, I didn't met her until she registered to run.
Well, and isn't it correct that actually, I've heard at least that the reason you weren't really recruited, but that you do have several friends and neighbors who really encouraged you to run.
Yes, I did.
And one of those people, as I understand it, is Gary Watts.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, excellent. But I just want to make sure that's out there,
And-
because you know how
yeah.
Montgomery County politics is
Right.
with some people. So I do appreciate you doing this, and we are here to help you however we can help you in this race. We want good people running. We don't really care for what we're getting right now from a certain element in the county who would form a pack and go after fellow Republicans in a general election. To me, that's just kind of unforgivable. If you got something to hash out, you do it in the primary. You don't, while counties across Texas are turning blue, savage your fellow Republicans in a general election. So I appreciate you stepping up. Anything
I
else?
look forward to it.
Okay.
I really do.
So what would you say are sort of the big issues facing Shenandoah right now?
Well, I don't think that the contracts that they have, like with the city attorney and the engineer, that those projects that they take on, I don't think those are actually going out for bid. Because I did ask in an open records request if the city attorneys, when his contract was up, if they had posted it, and they told me no.
Yeah, and actually I noticed, I think you and I spoke a couple of weeks ago, and you had mentioned how hard it is to find the city budget. And it did take a while for me to find it. It's not, the website of Shenandoah certainly is not a transparent website.
It's not user friendly.
Right, but it is there.
Right.
And one thing I noticed was that at least for last year, I think they paid the attorney $130,000. That seems a little high for a city the size of Shenandoah.
I think so too.
Do you know how much they were paying Mickey Dyson back when he was the city attorney?
He was the city attorney when we first moved up here, and I don't remember that. I do
Okay.
not know.
But I mean, $130,000. Their budget is about, I think, $8 million a year. So basically, they're paying about 2% of the budget just to the city attorney. And then who is the engineer? I didn't even know there was a city engineer.
I think it's a group Blyle.
Oh, John Blyle. Okay. And how long has he been the engineer? For a long time?
For a while now. I
Okay.
don't know exactly, but I do know it's been a while.
And that's not going out for bids?
Not that I know of.
Huh.
And another thing that I'd like to see go out for bid is the health care benefits.
I know a guy that tried to bid on that once.
Really? Would that be the person you look at in your mirror?
Yes, it would be.
And they wouldn't let you bid?
Mm-mm. I didn't get to bid on it. I was actually doing the insurance.
What do you mean you didn't get to bid
I was
on it?
I was doing the insurance for the city of Montgomery at the time, and I went to Shenandoah, and they basically said, we've already got somebody. So,
Wow.
So there was no bid process. It was we already have a friend that does it, and that's just the way it is. So there is no bid process there.
Well, okay, so the other thing I remember that you and I talked about a couple weeks ago was that you mentioned, and I, to be honest, my reaction, I didn't tell you this that day, my reaction to what you said was somewhat negative. You said that we need more community functions, that the city puts on. And I noticed when I looked in the budget that there actually is a budget category for community functions. But like what you said to me a couple of weeks ago, there really aren't many community functions, sort of like July 4th celebrations or things like that. I mean, what would you like to see the city do?
They got a big old swimming pool parking lot that they could have a car show. They could invite people for a car show.
Well, any kind of kind of community event.
They could also have like on the other side. I think they're developing their complex over there. I'm not sure. It's
near Portofino.
I think it's kind of behind there.
Oh yeah, right. That I forgot what it's called. Where
Sand Moon.
Well, no, it's not Sam Moon, but it's where that new AMC theater is. Actually, my wife and I went for a walk there a couple weeks ago, and it's really nice.
I'd like to see them do like Shenandoah Market Days or something like that.
Just community building stuff.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Because that stuff wouldn't cost a lot of money to the city, would it?
I don't think it would. They'd probably have to require that the vendors have insurance,
Sure.
And stuff like that.
What if they bid that out?
I mean, but the reality is it wouldn't cost a lot of money, and what you do is you just make sure the vendors would pay some sort of fee to cover all the expenses.
Or once a month have like a farmer's market, Shenandoah Farmer's Market. I mean,
Shenandoah certainly has the space for it, don't
they
they?
have the potential.
Right, yeah.
But
Well, what I would like to see mostly is some people in those seats, other citizens showing up to that thing. You filled out some public information requests for things going on there, and apparently they don't like that either. They frown upon that if you actually want to know what's going on. So I appreciate you having the courage to do that.
I want to ask you about one of those in
Yes.
particular.
Yes.
Is
I knew you were going to ask.
I'm
about
sorry.
that.
No.
I was trying to get through it.
I
Go
heard.
ahead.
Yeah, I heard. No. I heard that you asked for some sort of public information request about key cards.
a while back I did. Yes, I
Okay,
did.
tell us what happened with that.
I had asked if the city attorney had a key card. Actually, I asked for a list.
Explain what a key card is first.
It's
I don't
the
know what it is. You
the
explain what it
slide
is.
cards. When they walk into the building, they
Yeah.
slide them to get access to.
Whether somebody's there or not, they can get in. Okay, go ahead.
And so I had asked if the city attorney had one. Actually, first I asked for a list of everybody that had a key card. And they told me that they were going to refer that to the AG's office. So they referred it to the AG's office.
Wait a minute. So they didn't want to give you the list?
No.
Why?
I guess because they said it was infringing on security.
For you just to know who has a key card?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so then what happened?
So then the AG ruled, they referred it to the AG, and I contacted the AG, and the AG ruled in my favor. And so they,
So he didn't agree that there was any security reason for them not to give you the list at all, did he?
I
Obviously
guess
not.
not,
Yeah.
because he
Right.
ruled in my favor.
Sure.
And so anyway, then they provided me with the list. Well, then when I was looking over the list, I realized that I didn't see the city attorney's name on there.
Yeah.
And that it was an old list from previous employees that, because I knew some of the people that worked at the city
Sounds
prior.
like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what happened?
Well, so then, when I didn't see his name on there, I requested a picture or just a screenshot, maybe, of where the city attorney was sliding his key card coming into the building. Well, they referred that to the AG's office, and of course it was declined on my part. So, but that's okay. But then in between, in the interim, there they did forward a list, and his name's on there.
Okay, so I'm sorry to keep interrupting your interview, John, but I have another question about
I knew it was going to
Shenandoah.
go like this. It's
No,
all right.
no. So I'm somewhat familiar with that building that is now the city hall because that building's been through a lot of different owners while I've lived in Montgomery County. And actually, I haven't lived here as long as you have. But does the city really need a building that large for the city of Shenandoah government?
I have never been inside of there to walk around and see where everything's at in there.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I don't know. All I know is right in the front where I go to ask questions or drop stuff off at their customer service counter on the left. And then I do know the police area is to the right.
Right.
And that's all I know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can imagine the police probably need, a fair amount of workspace, but
Right.
it just seems like a city that's got a $9 million budget would not need a building that large. And I mean, the fire department, they're not there. They're in that building, that
Across
metal
the-
building across the street. So I hope that when you get on the city council, that's an issue that you'll look at pretty closely.